entities of 167,000, which would more than pay for the additional personnel that I'm asking for in dispatch, if it were allowed to go for that rather than back into the general fund. And this is the positions I'm asking for this year. This year, the telecommunications, the TCOL, which is Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which was formerly TCLOS, mandates now that the dispatchers be licensed rather than just have a certification. And what comes with that is a mandate that in a 2-year period they receive so much training, whether we want to do it or not, or whether they need it or not. And I can tell you they always need it. We even look for giving more intermediate advanced training to our dispatchers to have more experience, because I don't believe in dumbing down the training and have somebody spend a long time go to basic level training. It does nobody any good. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of taxpayer money. So in order to do that, now we have to let them off for the time to go do the training. We have to pay for the training, because I can tell you, they did this in mid-budget year. So we lost a dispatcher for, I think, about a week that they said, you gotta let her go. So what we did, we just took her off dispatch and sent her to the training she had to have to catch up. So they mean business. It's not, hey, you send them if you want to. We have records that we're required to forward to them to make sure their training is up to date. So we're asking for a telecommunications training coordinator, which would be put in a supervisor position where they could coordinate all the dispatch training. And I can tell you, I was very fortunate last year. I used a supervisor position, so he's doubling in both of those. But I was very fortunate in being able to hire a retired Department of Public Safety NCIC, National Crime Information Center, Texas Crime Information Center, and Onyx expert that did all of DPS's training. He retired, and I was able to get him to go work for us. So that's who we have in that position, but he's taking up a position right now that really should be used to supervise the dispatchers on duty. I'm asking for 3 telecommunications positions. If you have 8-hour shifts you're working on, it takes you 4 people to fill an 8-hour shift, because you got the 3 shifts, and then you have the relief factor built in for the extra. So I'm asking for 3 telecommunications positions, and then I'm asking for a validator position, where they validate the stolen property and the wanted persons and things of that they're required to make sure that they're still outstanding. And requesting for a clerk position, there are now be changed over to a warrant services clerk with a little bit of raise and a step involved in it. We've got 2 there. One's been there 5 years, one's been there 10 years, one's making 25, maybe 26,000, one's making 27. So the one that's been there 5 years more is only making $1,000 difference than the one that's been there five more years. So just trying to take care of the people that take care of you. The staffing of the jail facilities upon completion of phase 2, which would be, Jeff, I'm not sure, it's still middle of August or end of, who knows?
That's what I heard this morning.
Right, okay. Phase 2 and then phase 4, which will be the final phase where we're able to start bringing inmates back in from out of county. And I'll tell you, I just love going to Commissioner's Court every Tuesday morning and watching Commissioner Phillips. You know, you can tell when Major Farmer gets up and gets ready to give the jail report, he sits up in his seat because he likes to keep those out of county numbers low, as do I. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot to do with it. But 19, is it 19? We had this week, but we've been as much before I got there, over 200. Is that
268?
268. Wow. So in cooperation with the state district judges, the county court of law judges, we've been able to bring that down. But my fear is, once this new jail opens up, is that these judges are going to say, okay, they're tired of seeing them in front of their, in a courtroom, and hadn't had anywhere to put them. I can tell you, they're going to start putting them in jail. That's one issue we have. Then we're going to bring the ones in from out of county. Right now it's at 20, but what happens is, that's not the peak level. That's not even the average peak level. That's way low level. What I have to be prepared for as a sheriff and the gatekeeper for the jail is the jail commission requires me to have the proper ratio of inmates to detention officers. And they don't say, hey, do this if you want to, this is a suggestion. you will have, because what they'll do, they'll come in when they do the jail inspection annually. The first thing they'll do is go through your paperwork and see what your staffing level was on each day of the year. They'll just take out random samples. And what is required to happen in these cells up there, in the indirect supervision cells, the detention officer throughout the 24-hour period is required to check each cell and sign his name, his or her name that they checked it every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day. We had a suicide in the jail, it's been probably 6-8 months ago. When they come in, when we do our investigation, we have to furnish all that information. We had one that went over the hour, and it's like an hour and 4 minutes. We got dinged for that, and for about 30 days, I think. So it didn't really hurt us, but it will hurt us if we're not under a remedial order. It would have hurt. But since we're already under a remedial order for several years, it didn't really affect us that much, but it will later. But we've got to have the proper number of jailers, and what I believe has got to happen, and I believe it will happen. I've got a meeting with Commissioner Ward next week, and he's on top of the construction of the new jail. He's there every day just about. But I believe we've got to decide that the monkey's going to fall on my back if we open this new jail with a minimum number of personnel to maybe have a 50 person 50 more that we can bring in, and then the judges start sending more to jail, and crime gets up, we arrest more. I don't want to be the culprit when we reach the magic number. We've got empty beds up there. I don't want to be the one that you look at and say, you didn't plan properly, and we have to send them out of county at expense to you, the taxpayer, when I've got beds up here but no personnel to maintain those beds. So I think it's very important for us, and I'm open to communication to maybe submit 4 or 5 different scenarios of, okay, if we have this many personnel, we can bring in this many inmates. If we have this many, we can bring in this many inmates. But I think what can't happen is, I can't see that gradually increasing or rapidly increasing and then run out and hire somebody, because it takes us 8 weeks to get somebody on the job right now because of the process. And it will also take us another, by the time they get their training and their orientation and their FTO program, another 16 weeks probably before we can turn them loose on their own. So you can see, if I see the problem coming, I can't react fast enough to catch up. So I just want you to know that I'm going to ask for the proper number of personnel to what I believe that we need to be ready for, and then hopefully work with the commissioners and the judge on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever, to project what we see, any increase or anything like that. I believe it's prudent for us to work on that and just make sure that we're ready for whatever we're going to be faced with. But employee staffing issues facing the Smith County Jail, the staffing requirements, again, are set by the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. One thing that goes to play in this, we'll have 1,100 and something beds once this new facility comes online. But historically, you have about a 95% that you can fill that jail. That's because of male to female inmates. You only have the proper number of beds for each one. And it also goes with classification. We can't classify a murder suspect with a forgery suspect. They have to go in different housing. So because of all that, we can't ever be 100% full. So you lose a few beds there. Inmates not suitable for direct supervision. This new facility is direct supervision, which means our detention officer will be inside the cell with the inmates. There's several counties that do that now. I fully expect to lose a handful, maybe a double handful of employees because they're not going to work in that environment. I have to be ready for that. And I've been told by Sheriff Terry Box of Collin County, who's been a sheriff for well over 30 years, I've known him for all those 30 years, he told me to expect that. He has also graciously, for the last 9 months or so, or probably longer than that, been training our personnel at no expense, no cost to the citizens, the taxpayers, to get them ready for direct supervision. The relief is required for a direct supervision facility. In other words, you've got the jailer in there with the inmates. Anytime he goes outside in the hallway, we're out of compliance. So for him to go to the restroom or go eat, we have to relieve him before he can leave that facility. Transport within and outside the jail will increase because of the numbers, and right now it won't be tremendously bad with just the 19 coming back if we keep it close to that, but it's still going to increase. Inmate infirmary must be staffed with a detention officer if we have anybody in one of the beds in the infirmary, and your ratios aren't very good then, because we only have 10 or 12 beds there, Jeff? 12. Have 12 beds there, and if we got 2 of them full, it still takes 1 detention officer. That 1 detention officer, if he's in a pod, is the proper staffing for 48 inmates, but because of the infirmary is 1 for however many you have. Video visitation, transportation in the old part of the jail, which we're going to try to minimize that by making full use out of the new part, but we will still have a lot of inmates in the old part of the jail. Cell checks to maintain the compliance because of what I told you earlier about the 1 hour, us being over. I've dropped down the requirement to 45 minutes. That way, if we're over a little bit, we're still within the hour. And I'm just going to go through. This is just a request where I had the jail commission to say, okay, if we open 2 floors, 188 inmates a floor, if we open 2 floors, this is the personnel that you're going to need total, which is 256. And I believe that comes down to, if we got to what our relief factor should be now, and that is going to be over 60 employees, but just for the 2 floors, with the 1.63 relief rate, would be 58, I believe. But I think there's some, we see where we are here pretty quick, but we got to do it pretty quick because it's coming on us quick. Jeff, when is it supposed to open where we put the inmates in?
Sheriff, I think end of October, but the jail commission said about 3 weeks for them to do their
So probably up in November. In November sometime, and I've already told you how long it takes us to hire and then get them trained. And if we hire any significant number, whether it be 58, whether it be 40, whether it be whatever, they're required to have their certification within 1 year. The way we do that now is we're hiring 5 or 6 or 7 at a time. We can do that within a year. But if we hire a great number, we can't. We're going to have to train some of them before they ever go on the floor. Because we can't, within a year, let 40 people off to go to training. And I've taken enough of y'all's time. Other thing is vehicles. Our vehicles, we have 102 vehicles in the sheriff's office. And the ones that I see that are critical right now that we need to replace, and the commissioners know I've been talking about this before I took office, try to get as many vehicles as we can. And of course, the year I took office, that's back when we had the real bad budget year, so I understand that somewhat. But we've got some, especially in the patrol part, detective part, and the transport of inmates. I know you don't want me transporting inmates 5, 6, 7 counties away in a vehicle with 150 or 200,000 miles. It's not the right thing to do. And the same thing, you don't want people responding to your call for help or one of your loved ones call for help in a vehicle with 150 or 200,000 miles, because they stay at the county barn. I've spent about $125,000 this year, just that's on the law enforcement side, and probably another $12,000 to $15,000 on the jail side in maintenance just this year alone. And I've got to make that last all the way up to September 30th. So we need some help on the vehicles. And the only thing different on this than what I presented to the Commissioners Court the other day, I presented because I didn't realize the fact about their obligation, their pledge they had made. So if you remember this number, if y'all saw that, it was $398,000, but because of their pledge they made, and I fully intend for them to keep their pledge. There's no need making one if you're not intending to keep it. But that may cause, if we got everything in here that I'm asking